What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got our Week 8 NFL games outright on the spread along with our locks of the week. So make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. And let us hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. And before going into these breakdowns, I do want to highlight OddsJam once again because it continues to be the place that I use for all my betting research for the NFL and really any other sport out there as well. Because when it comes to line shopping, sportsbook comparisons, and getting the best odds, well, OddsJam will allow you to do all of that. And not only this, but you can take advantage of their betting tools, whether you're a beginner or an expert. Check out their positive EV tool, which shows you line discrepancy so you know you're getting the best odds, or their arbitrage tool so you can get equal and opposite bets for a risk-free return. Link in the description, so make sure to check them out there. But with that being said, let's transition to our games. And actually, we kick it off on Thursday night. Looking back at that game, we broke that down a couple days ago. Thursday night, Packers at the Cardinals. We started out 1-1. That was a game where we picked the Cardinals outright. Just so many injuries for the Packers offensively. We figured that would be, kind of the thing that put the Cardinals over the top. But we love the Packers on the spread, getting 6, and we hammered that more than anything. And wouldn't you know it, the Packers win outright thanks to a last-second interception in the red zone. So kudos to them there. And we start out 1-1. But transitioning to our Sunday games, we have got the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills to kick it off. Divisional game here. The Dolphins, yes, they are 1-6, somehow losing to the Falcons this last week, while the Bills 4-2 coming off the bye. Now, look, I understand the Dolphins have been very underwhelming so far, but Tua, to his credit, I think he's actually played all right in the games that he has been healthy. Now, yes, the Bills pose a tougher challenge compared to what the Falcons did, and I do expect the Dolphins to struggle a little bit more so, but look, these two teams know each other very well. It's a divisional clash. I don't think it's going to be a complete blowout. And in fact, the Bills are getting minus 14 at home. They're 14-point favorites here. I think that's a little bit excessive. Yes, ultimately, I do like the Bills outright because at quarterback, Josh Allen is further along than Tua. Weapons-wise, you got Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. I think the options there are better in Buffalo, and I do like the defense a little bit more so than that of the Miami Dolphins, who, again, that's another positional group that has underwhelmed this season. But I'm not just going to throw in the towel with the Dolphins. I think they can hang in there. 14 points is a lot, especially for a divisional clash here. I think the Dolphins are a little bit better than their record might suggest. Haven't exactly, been getting blown out. And if they have, you can look at certain situations. Maybe Tua's been hurt, et cetera, et cetera. So point being, I like the Bills outright, but I do like the Dolphins on the spread. Moving on, we've got the LA Rams at the Texans. Rams 6-1. After, in a close battle versus the Detroit Lions. A little bit surprising, but ultimately the better team won, while the Texans 1-6, losing to the Arizona Cardinals as, well, let's be honest, they should. Now, Davis Mills will still be the starting quarterback here for the Texans, which means I don't trust anyone offensively, which means the Rams should bounce back here. As a team, in general, I think this defense will absolutely just stop the Houston Texans in their tracks. I expect Darrell Henderson to have a bounce back game because, a little bit underwhelming versus the Lions. Just everyone, honestly, from Matthew Stafford to Cooper Kupp to Robert Woods, everybody from top to bottom, the Rams, I think, will dominate the Houston Texans. Obviously, I'm picking them outright. That is pretty much a given. The question is on the spread, what do you do? Because Houston is at plus 15.5. But when I look at the competition they've played, the better teams that they've faced, they have lost, handily too. So I'm going to take the Rams to cover that number, as crazy as it sounds. I think the Texans without Tyrod Taylor, even though he's not an elite quarterback either, just can't be trusted at all. So I'm going with the Rams there. Then we've got the Cincinnati Bengals at the New York Jets. The Bengals 5-2, huge win, Divisional 1 versus the Baltimore Ravens, while the Jets 1-5 got absolutely slaughtered by the New England Patriots. Insult to injury, Zach Wilson is hurt. So insert Mike White. Well, actually, the Jets also did trade for Joe Flacco, but kind of surprisingly, he's not going to be starting for them here. And I say surprisingly because he does know the Jets. He's familiar with them, has more experience than White. So you would think, why not at this point in time? But, if the Jets are going to go with White, I'm taking the Bengals here pretty comfortably. If it was Flacco under center, then I would consider, the idea of the Jets on the spread, some garbage time points, but with White, no way. The Jets are at plus 11.5 on the spread. I'm riding with the Bengals there. I think they can cover that number. Now, maybe Flacco starts at some point in this game if White is doing absolutely horrid, like I think he will. The Bengals have been better, than we anticipated. I think that was confirmed last week. The defense also kind of a little bit underrated. The Jets, Corey Davis could potentially not play. Just forget about it. I don't like anything about the Jets. Bengals outright and on the spread. Next up, we have got the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons. Another divisional clash here. The Panthers 3-4 after getting embarrassed by the New York Giants. On top of that, Sam Darnold getting benched in that game. Absolutely awful. The Falcons 3-3. Beating the Miami Dolphins. The two teams kind of trending in opposite directions, but I think at the end of the day, they both probably end up, when it's all said and done, 8-9 wins on the season. And I think this series could be split, but I'm going with the home team here. The Atlanta Falcons. Yes, they're probably one of the weaker teams the Panthers have played these last 4-5 weeks, but nonetheless, I said it back when the Panthers were 3-0. They were nowhere as good as their record suggested, and they just benefited from playing some of the worst teams in the NFL. So they have gotten exposed these last 4 weeks. Yes, they could have some success versus the Falcons, but ultimately, I trust Matt Ryan more than I do Sam Darnold, who, he will start this game, but that's going to come with several turnovers. That has been the MO for a while now, and I think the Falcons can, capitalize on that. I think offensively, Calvin Ridley just needs to be unleashed a little bit. Kyle Pitts is being integrated more and more. Cordero Patterson, obviously a factor as well. I just trust the Falcons more so. Without Christian McCaffrey, the Panthers just don't have that same wrinkle to that offense. Give me the Falcons to win this game outright. The spread right now, the Falcons are getting -3, so favored by 3 points here. But I think, again, probably you throw in a turnover or two from Darnold. The Falcons able to pull away late in this game, so I'm going to take them to cover that number. Moving on, we've got the San Francisco 49ers at the Chicago Bears. This is an interesting one. The 49ers 2-4 after losing to the Colts in a game that was horrible rain from start to finish. While the Bears 3-4 getting smoked by the Bucs like we all knew they would. But kind of big news here, I guess, if you will. Matt Nagy won't be coaching in this game, out with COVID. So do we finally see Justin Fields maybe unleashed a little bit more so? Do we see some more logical play calling? I don't know. These are all interesting things. If Justin Fields struggles here, then maybe some more signs for concerns for Chicago. Because the 49ers, even though they've struggled, I think you could argue they're a little bit better than their record might suggest, especially defensively. Now, offensively, the problem is, Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't been great either. And the rushing attack for the 49ers, it's great and all, but when you go up versus a front of the Chicago Bears here and other better defenses, then Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to beat you through the air. Now, I'm not saying that can't happen, especially versus this Bears secondary, but I think this game will be a lot closer than people anticipate. And in fact, I really like the Bears, at least on the spread. I think it's a coin flip of a game. We just need to see Allen Robinson more involved in this offense. We need to see a more successful passing attacks from Justin Fields. Will that happen? I'm not 100% sure. I'd rather go with the more experienced team here outright. I'm going to hedge my bets here. I'm going to take the 49ers on the road to win this game outright. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, better head coaching, etc. But at the end of the day, the Bears on the spread, I think, is a great pick. They're getting plus 3.5. So to me, that's a situation where I wouldn't be shocked if they win outright. So if anything, if you force me to pick a bet here, it is the Bears on the spread for sure. Afterwards, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns, another divisional clash. Steelers 3-3 coming off the bye. The Browns 4-3 after beating the Broncos last week. And right now, the big thing for me here is the health of Baker Mayfield. Yes, he's expected to play, but he's clearly not 100%. Sure, Nick Chubb returns, but if Baker Mayfield isn't 100% and the Steelers, who have a very good defense, can sell out to stop the run. Do you trust Baker Mayfield to win you this game? For me, it's no. And as bad as Ben Roethlisberger is, obviously, not in his prime anymore, I'd rather go with Big Ben at this point in time than Baker Mayfield. And, maybe it's unfair because Mayfield is hurt, but that's the situation right now. The Steelers have had some extra time to prepare for the Browns. I believe in Deontay Johnson. I believe in Claypool. I believe in Najee Harris. The offensive line has question marks, but at the end of the day, so do the Browns. I'm going to go with the Steelers here on the road to win this game. If Baker was 100% healthy, maybe it'd be a different case, but right now, with it being what it is, I'm going with the Steelers to win this game. Cleveland favored at -3.5 on the spread, so Steelers outright and on the spread there. Then moving on, we've got the Detroit Lions versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Here the Lions are at home. They're 0-7 though after valiant effort versus the LA Rams, but ultimately the better team won, while the Eagles 2-5 after losing to the Raiders. And this is an intriguing game because I'm kind of surprised by the spread. The Lions at +3.5, I would have thought that'd be a bigger number. I would have thought +5, +6, +6.5, something like that. Because I think you can argue the Eagles, yes, they've been disappointing, but they faced some decent teams. And this Lions defense doesn't really scare me. I could see a lot of points here, but ultimately I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts over the Detroit Lions. I think he can have potentially his best game of the year here versus the Lions. I like the Eagles to win this game. I wouldn't be shocked if there's a lot of points back and forth. Miles Sanders won't be playing here, so it's going to be Kenneth Gainwell. It's going to be Boston Scott. But ultimately, I think the Eagles are the better team. And I trust Jalen Hurts more so. I think he's a problem with his legs. He's hard to account for. The Eagles defensively, I trust them more than I do the Lions. So give me the Eagles to win. Like I said, I don't think that the spread +3.5 is high enough, so I'm going to take the Eagles not only outright, but also on the spread. Next up, we've got the Indianapolis Colts versus the Tennessee Titans. The Colts 3-4 after beating the San Francisco 49ers in the rain, while the Titans 5-2 did not see their win versus the Chiefs coming, especially in the dominating fashion that it happened with. So kudos to them. Question is, are they going to be able to duplicate it here versus the Colts? These are usually two teams that play each other tough every single year. You kind of throw out the records. Could be a split series. Wouldn't shock me one bit. Honestly, this is kind of a game where I don't mind hedging my bets. If you like the Titans to win outright, which I imagine a lot of people will, they've got the better record coming off that big win. The Colts are at +3 at home. I'm going to go with the consensus and say the Titans win outright. Maybe Ryan Tannehill is kind of figuring it out a little bit. Derrick Henry is rolling. A.J. Brown getting more and more involved. Julio Jones not expected to play, though. That's unfortunate. I don't trust the Tennessee Titans defense, even after only holding the Kansas City Chiefs to pretty much no points. I think that they're going to come back down to earth here a little bit. I'm actually going to go with the Colts on the spread. Like I said, I think this is kind of a coin flip game. These two teams know each other very, very well. Don't be shocked if the Colts get the upset win here. So I'm going to go with the Colts on the spread, getting +3. Moving on then, we go to the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Seattle Seahawks, because now we've got a big decision to make. How much do you trust Geno Smith? On paper, it's the Seahawks. It's the Jaguars. Seahawks should win, obviously, right? But, man, without Russell Wilson, the Seahawks are in trouble. And actually, I don't mind taking the Jaguars to win outright here because the Seahawks defense, it's bad. And it's one of the worst in the league. I think that Trevor Lawrence can have success. I think James Robinson can have success. And even though the Jaguars are a mess in terms of their head coaching situation, I think that they could potentially give the Seahawks a run for their money. Now, on the flip side, well, the Jaguars aren't that great either. If there's any team that Geno Smith can have success versus, it would be the Jaguars. Getting that rushing attack going, having Tyler Lockett more integrated in the offense, et cetera, et cetera. But Seattle at -3.5, I think it's a big number for them to be favored by, honestly, with what we've seen from Geno Smith. I'm going to take them, outright. I think if there's any team that Geno Smith can beat And for the Seahawks to set up a simple game plan here, it would be versus the Jaguars. I still believe in the head coaching of the Seahawks more than I do of the Jaguars. That also plays into it. But on the spread, I'm going to take the Jaguars here. Again, I wouldn't be shocked if they just beat the Seahawks outright. You could argue they've got the better quarterback, the better offense all around without Russell Wilson under center for Seattle. So I like hedging our bets there and going with the Jaguars that way. Then we have got the New England Patriots at the LA Chargers. The Chargers coming off the bye week. They're 4-2. The Patriots 3-4 after that huge win versus the Jets. Now, here, potentially big news. Austin Eckler, questionable. That would be a big loss for the Chargers. The Chargers are favored at -4. And if Eckler doesn't play, I'm tempted to go with the Patriots here on the spread. But that's the condition I'll kind of put this game under. If Eckler plays, then I'm taking the Chargers outright and on the spread. If not, I'm going to take the Patriots on the spread at least. Either way, though, I'm taking the Chargers outright. I think that the Chargers have the better quarterback. I think they've got the better offensive weapons. Yes, the Patriots can run on this Chargers defense, but I think that could potentially be game scripted out. If the Chargers kind of jump out to a lead, then it's going to all be on the shoulders of Mac Jones. We've seen these up and down games from the Patriots. They're kind of inconsistent. I'm riding with the Chargers here at this point in time with the presumption that Austin Eckler plays. Give me them to win this game outright and cover that number at -4. Next up, we have got the Tampa Bay Bucks at the New Orleans Saints. Divisional clash here. The Bucks 6-1 after dismantling the Bears. No issues there. While the Saints 4-2 after beating the Russell Wilson-less Seattle Seahawks barely, and I do mean barely. I think the Saints could be one of those teams where they aren't quite as good as their record might suggest. And, I say that because when you go up versus the Bucks here, you better put your big boy pants on because it's a situation where you're not going to get away just by scoring offensively 15, 20 points even. You got to score 20 plus, maybe even 30 plus. And I just don't think the Saints have that in them, especially with the wide receivers they currently have. Yes, Jameis Winston revenge game versus the Bucks, but that's only going to get you so far. You also know you're going to get a couple turnovers from him here. And even without Antonio Brown, I like the Bucks to win this game. Yes, the Saints have a pesky defense, but I think Tom Brady can handle them and be fine here, even with this game being in New Orleans. Give me the Bucks to win this game outright on the spread. The Saints +4.5. I think that number should be bigger, so I'm going to ride with the Tampa Bay Bucks there as well, who are also getting Rob Gronkowski back, which is nice to see, especially with AB dealing with an injury. So give me the Bucks outright and on the spread. Then we go to Washington versus the Denver Broncos in Denver. Here, Washington 2-5 after losing to the Green Bay Packers, while the Broncos 3-4 after losing to the Cleveland Browns. And right now, I'm going to continue to say the same thing about Washington that I do every single week. Heineke does not play a full 4 quarters. He is too inconsistent. And with him under center, I just don't think this offense is trustworthy. Sure, guys like Terry McLaurin might put up good fantasy stats and things like that, but that doesn't lead to actual wins. And versus a stingy Broncos defense in Denver, give me the Broncos to win this game. Who also, by the way, Denver is supposed to get Jerry Jeudy back. Now, I'm not really expecting all that much from him, but considering how porous this Washington defense has been, I think that Denver can still have some success versus Washington. Give me Bridgewater over Heineke. I'm going to go with the game manager over Heineke here. I like Denver at home to win this game outright. On the spread, they're at -3.5. It's a little bit risky, I would say here, riding with the Broncos. 100% certainty on the spread because I could see this game being, kind of back and forth, lower scoring, close. But I'm going to go with the Broncos. I'm going to give them some credit and say that they can win this game by at least 3.5 points. If you will, maybe tease it down to something like 2.5 or 2 and then ride with the Broncos that way if that makes you feel better. Then Dallas Cowboys versus the Minnesota Vikings. The big news here is that Dak Prescott could miss this game, likely will miss this game. Unfortunate, the Cowboys, 5-1, they were on a roll. coming off the bye week, while the Vikings 3-3 also coming off the bye week here. Now, well, they got to be favored. In fact, they are. They're at -3. And as long as Dak Prescott doesn't play, I'm rolling with the Vikings. That is, kind of my spiel here. That's what I'm predicating this pick on, because last year we saw what this Cowboys offense, is without Dak Prescott, and translation, not all that great. So I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings in that case. If there's no Dak, you can't really trust Zeke, because the Vikings are going to stack the box and make you beat them through the air. Even though there's Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, I think that only gets you so far. So I like the Minnesota Vikings here at home as long as Dak Prescott doesn't play. Only -3 on the spread, so I would ride with them there on the spread as well. And then finally, we go to the New York Giants at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Giants 2-5 after beating the Panthers. In fact, embarrassing them, while the Chiefs 3-4 after, on their end, getting embarrassed by the Tennessee Titans. Definitely kind of a big shock, maybe one of the biggest shocks so far this season. The Chiefs and their record, are they even going to make the playoffs? But I think they can have a bounce-back performance here versus the Giants, who don't exactly put up a lot of points. But to be fair, the Chiefs' defense has been very, very bad this season. The offensive line, a bit problematic, and Patrick Mahomes has been making some unusual mistakes. So all these things considered, I think this game could be closer than anticipated. Now, on the spread, the Chiefs are getting -9.5. That's a very, very big number. I'm not sure that they can win by double digits here. Again, I'm just not really worried about the Chiefs' offense. I think what we saw last week was a fluke. It's not going to be every so often where you see the Chiefs put up less than 10 points. That's an aberration. So I anticipate the Chiefs to bounce back here, 20-plus points, something like that. But the Chiefs' defense, that's not a quick turnaround, and that's why I think the Giants can potentially cover on the spread. That's what I'm going with here, but outright, I am riding with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they bounce back and they beat a Giants team that is banged up right now, and, coming off an embarrassing loss, the Chiefs are. I think they get back to their winning ways. But with that, we wrap up our pick'ems. Now looking at our locks of the week, we begin with the Rams versus the Texans. Simply put, with Davis Mills under center, I think this Rams defense is going to have their way with Houston. I think the Rams are just going to be all around a great performance here. Give me the Rams to win this game. Then Bengals versus Jets. No Zach Wilson. Mike White under center. Honestly, even if it was Wilson under center, I'd still be picking the Bengals. Give me Cincinnati to win this game. Honorable mention to potentially the Chicago Bears on the spread versus the 49ers. I know that game could go either way, but I really do like the Bears on the spread there. Then continuing on, we have got the Minnesota Vikings versus the Dallas Cowboys. As long as Dak Prescott doesn't play, I really do like the Vikings. And finally, the Tampa Bay Bucks versus the New Orleans Saints. Give me Tom Brady over Jameis Winston all day long. Just simply put, the Saints don't have the firepower to keep up with the Bucks. But with that, we wrap up our Week 8 NFL game picks, outright versus the spread, along with our locks of the week. As always, let us hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. And we'll see you guys in future videos.